Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Residents of a besieged Afghan city have been urged to evacuate ahead of an army operation against the Taliban. At least 40 civilians have been killed in Lashkargah in the past day amid intense fighting. General Sami Sadat, who is leading the battle against the Taliban in the southern province of Helmand, called on people to leave its capital as soon as possible. The Taliban are reported to have captured most of the city. Police are treating the death of a Belarusian activist in the Ukrainian capital Kiev as murder. Vitaly Shishov led a Kiev-based organization that helped exiled Belarusians and was found hanged in a park near his home. His colleagues said he had felt under constant surveillance since he left Belarus last year after taking part in anti-government protests, adding that he was warned about possible threats including being kidnapped or killed. Meanwhile, the International Olympic Committee has launched a formal investigation into allegations that Belarus attempted to force an athlete to return home.
We have decided to launch, not surprisingly, a formal investigation.
Kristina Timanovskaya has been granted a humanitarian visa by Poland and is now at its embassy in Tokyo. Ms. Timanovskaya said she was taken to the airport against her will after criticizing coaches and voiced fears for her safety. The IOC has requested that the Belarus National Olympic Committee submit its report on the incident in the next 24 hours. Authorities in the Chinese city of Wuhan will begin testing its entire population after a handful of positive coronavirus cases were detected. Wuhan has recorded 7 locally transmitted cases, the first local infections in more than a year. The city of 11 million people is where the virus is thought to have originated from in 2019. China is currently seeing one of its biggest outbreaks in months, with 300 cases detected in the last 10 days. German NGO ship Sea-Watch 3 carrying 257 migrants continues to wait to be assigned a port as the situation in the Mediterranean sees no sign of slowing. Sea-Watch 3 alerted Italy and Malta of the boats in distress and handed out life jackets to the migrants before 2 Coast Guard vessels rescued them. The ship is travelling north toward Italy and away from the search and rescue zone, awaiting a response from authorities to their urgent requests for a safe port to land. Iran's incoming president Ebrahim Raisi has said he will take steps to lift tyrannical sanctions imposed by the United States after winning the formal endorsement of the country's supreme leader. Mr. Raisi, who is under personal US sanctions over allegations of human rights abuses in his past as a judge, promised to improve the living conditions of Iranians, which have worsened since 2018 when Washington reimposed sanctions on Iran after abandoning a nuclear deal. He was elected in June to replace Hassan Rouhani in a vote in which other high-profile candidates were barred from standing. Tanzanians have started arriving at one of its 550 vaccination centres to receive their COVID jabs as a nationwide campaign gets underway. The country has received 1 million doses of the single-jab Johnson & Johnson vaccine from the US under the COVAX scheme. President Samia Suluhu Hassan, who got her injection last week, said Tanzania has placed another order for the vaccine through the African Union as part of its plan to initially target more than 60% of the population. Colombian authorities have seized raw materials after discovering a cocaine lab. According to the Colombian Armed Forces, this bust will be a loss of approximately $39 million for the illegal organizations behind the lab. Authorities found almost 850 kilograms of narcotics with solid and liquid supplies. A submarine with capacity to transport over 2 tons of drugs was also confiscated. And finally, the United States has begun returning more than 17,000 ancient artifacts looted and smuggled out of Iraq following its invasion in 2003. That's according to Iraqi officials. Tens of thousands of antiquities disappeared from Iraq after the 2003 invasion, and many more were smuggled out or destroyed. But the Iraqi Culture and Foreign Ministries said US authorities had reached an agreement with the government to return treasures seized from dealers and museums in the US, including a 3,500-year-old clay tablet bearing part of the Epic of Gilgamesh. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to Millicent in Lagos.